Good morning, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Wisdom Sucks. Spike Mike here to share with you a little bit about some of my experience and the way I've learned some of the things I've learned. Through writing on Facebook and stuff, a number of people have mentioned to me that I should perhaps write a book about my life and so on and so forth. And, rather than sit down and write it out and force people to sit down and read, since it's much easier to watch a video or listen to people tell stories, a little more enjoyable, I figured that's what I'd do. One of the things that I want to talk about this morning is you may notice in some of the videos, since they're kind of close up of my face, that I have a little bit of droop here on the left side of my face. Maybe you don't notice it, but I do, being a bit self-conscious, human thing. Anyways, the reason that I bring that up is because it came about through a chain of events where one more time, I went through some adversity. I came out the other side and I learned to live with the results of that adversity. And over time, I've learned that it's really been truly a miraculous kind of thing. I was diagnosed in 2004 with what's called an acoustic neuroma. That is a non-cancerous tumor that grows on your inner ear nerve, balance nerve, and facial nerve. And it's kind of an interesting story as to how I got that diagnosis. I can be pretty strong, bold-headed, and thick-headed, and sometimes I don't want to listen to things, and that's what happens when you don't practice wisdom in your life. But I had experienced what I identified as kind of like a numbness or a pressure on the left side of my jaw and face, and I had gone to my doctor and talked to him a little bit about it, and the result was, let's put you on a course of antibiotics and see if that does anything. It's probably some inflammation that's going on in your face, inside your head and stuff. And so I'm like, okay. So I go take the course of antibiotics, and nothing happened. And at the same time, I had just had some dental work done. And my dentist had mentioned that there was a tooth on this side of my jaw that had quite a bit of receding gum line. And that it could cause problems in the future with food getting underneath the gum line and causing infection and so on and so forth. And he felt that tooth should come out. And I argued. I mean, at that point, I think I was about 10 years into my recovery, and I had survived 23 years of active addiction without losing any teeth. So my ego was feeling pretty good about that, and I wasn't willing to surrender a tooth. As a result, I was so upset at the idea of having a tooth pulled, I actually canceled my dental insurance with my employer. I can be accused of being quite intense at times. And that was one of those moments where I was like, there was no way I was going to give up a tooth by choice when they had survived the kind of barrage that I put them under. And so as a result, I started to feel this pressure, and I went and did the course of antibiotics instructed by my general practitioner. And when nothing resulted in a change there, I called up my dentist and I said, okay, pal, how much cash for you to pull this tooth out of my head? And, he told me $80, and I went in and I paid him the $80. He took the tooth out. 2 weeks go by, no change. And so I called my doctor, my regular doctor, back, and I went in and saw him, and I told him the story, and he kind of chuckled. And he said to me, you'd still have that tooth if you'd have called me back, and I was because I'm gonna do right now what I would have done then, which is refer you to ear, eye, nose, and throat. So the point of wisdom there is to maybe take a deep breath and not react on emotion. There's something that someone gave me some time ago, about 27 years ago. Someone said to me, we must not become emotionally involved in our problems. And over the years, as that's sunk in more and more through practice, the more I understand the value of that. If I can take an objective look at what's going on instead of focusing on the pain or the hurt or I'm fucking right or whatever else is involved is going through my head, I can find a solution and get into action on that solution more quickly. The resulting referral took me to an ear, eye, nose, and throat. The doctor asked me, "You're talking about a pressure." He said, "I have something in mind. Does it feel more like when you go in the ocean and you have water in your ear, and it's more of a fullness?" And I said, "Yeah, that's it." And he said, "It's only on one side?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I think that you may have an acoustic neuroma. And 1 in 50,000 people get it." And so we went through a course of x-rays and MRIs and all that stuff. And sure enough, and when the time for the surgery came, we scheduled the surgery, and there were two options. It was either radio knife, which is radiation treatment with a knife that at the time they did not recommend that for me, the radiation treatment, because it can cause the normal flesh around the site of the tumor to turn cancerous. And they only recommended it for people that had an expectation of life of 5 years or less. And at this time, when this happened in 2005, that's 17 years ago, and I'm 60 now, so I was 43. And the doctor was very adamant that really the surgery was the only option. And the risk was that because the acoustic neuroma is a non-cancerous tumor that grows inside your ear canal on the nerves, there was a risk of me losing balance, because it's a balance nerve, facial nerve, and your hearing nerve. And they went in to do a 3.5-hour surgery that turned into 6 hours. And when it was ended, they did the best they could to try to kind of fillet the skin of the tumor off of my hearing nerve, but they had to go too deep into the nerve with the laser knife to remove the tumor, and therefore I suffered hearing loss in this left ear. And the results of that were that I'm deaf in that left ear, completely deaf. And I've got a little bit, as you see, I have a little bit of drooping in this side of my face as a result of the damage to the muscular nerve for my left side of my face. Probably the most difficult thing that's happened as a result of that event in my life is that I did lose the ability to tell the direction of sound, because that's how our bodies work. When we have two ears, we can tell the direction of sound based on which ear it's louder in. When you only have one ear, there's no way of knowing that. So that's been difficult. It's been difficult to adjust to. It also exposed that I have a prenatal birth defect in my right ear, where I hear middle to bottom frequency and the very highest, but not the mid-range to the top. And what that does is, though I can hear fairly well certain vocal tones and certain stuff that people say I can hear fairly clearly in a quiet environment, but when it's noisy, it's difficult for me to understand. And the deafness that I experience in my right ear, the hearing issues are not volume. Like, don't yell at me if I'm not understanding you. Try to enunciate and speak more clearly. And I have to, my hearing problems are mine. So it's my responsibility to mention to you that I'm not understanding what you're saying. And there's a lot of psychological stuff that comes up with that. It's not all just I didn't hear and walk on, though sometimes I do that when I'm really exhausted with my condition. But for the most part, yeah, it's my responsibility to make mention of when I'm not understanding something correctly. And I do joke from time to time that one of the benefits of being deaf in my left ear is that if there's somebody I don't want to hear, they go on this side of me. So I do have the choice to use that as somewhat of a security measure, if you will. But overall, like throughout all of this stuff, like one thing that I knew when I first woke up in the hospital and I couldn't hear out of this ear and things were different, I knew that it's just a condition. It's not anything more than me learning how to live with a different situation going on in my life. And, I guess that's kind of a survivor's mentality. And I've learned how, over time, to deal with this stuff. And, each day is a new day, no matter what. And whatever you may feel is, whatever I have felt in the past was like completely too much for me to deal with. Over time, I've learned that that's not true. That more and more, regardless of what adversity I face, if I wake up in the morning, I'm granted a day to do something positive with. And if I want to be depressed and sit in the middle of my fears and my pain, then I can't. But today I choose not to. It sucks being bummed out and depressed. And don't misunderstand me. I understand clinical depression because I've experienced it for months on end, days and months on weeks on end, where there's nothing you can do, especially with my home just burning down. It took me a solid 3 months before I could really do anything other than breathe and survive and eat and just try to move through each day without creating more harm. The title of this series is Wisdom Sucks. And the reason why I coined that phrase is simply because the value of wisdom, the value of the things I've learned, the things that I get to share with you, my friends, and anybody else that may listen is that there's a pretty good chance that I won't do the same thing again that my part in that occurrence was. And there's a pretty good chance that I may be able to offer to some other people that, they have a choice. I guess that's the point of today's entry, is that every day I have an opportunity to make it what I want it to be. Yeah, there'll be some limitations and I may not get to do exactly what I want, but my needs will always be met as long as I try to stay in a positive frame of mind. And I guess that's a mindset of gratitude. So if you're sitting around and you're wondering why you don't feel love, maybe go love somebody. Offer to do something without expectation back. If you're experiencing some challenges, if you're going like, why the fuck is this happening to me? Try to rephrase how you're dealing with it. Instead of it being, oh, I'm so fucked by this, how about, what can I do to get through this? What can I do to get around this? Whose help do I need to ask for? Who can I go out and help to distract myself from my difficulty? Perception is everything. Perception is fucking everything. So anyways, with that, I'm going to one more time ask you to be good to yourselves and, wish you a great state of mind today. And there is something to faking it till you get through. I've done it a lot. And so, anyways, my friends, you can reach out to me on Facebook. You can reach out to me on Instagram. At Spike Mike with 2 P's, SPPIKE MIKE. If you need to have somebody listen to you, or you'd like a little input, I can offer some of that. Another part of this is that if you feel so inclined and would like to make a donation to the San Diego Music Foundation's Guitars for Kids program, there is a link in the comments below. I will be posting this on the social media sources. It lives on YouTube. All proceeds go directly to that fund that you're donating to, because I don't have access to it. I'm just providing a link. And if you would like to be involved and see more of this, or you just want to sit back and see it, whatever. But if you'd like to subscribe, you can, to Wisdom Sucks channel. And you can click likes and maybe even share it with your friends. Again, be good to yourselves. That's what you can control today. That's what I'm going to do. Take care.